Hi, John with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at Demco's Air Force One coach kit, and we're installing it on a 2021 Freightliner M2. Now this Demco kit is going to be perfect for you if you, say, upgraded your coach and it has air brakes, but it doesn't have an OEM prep package for supplemental braking systems with air. This is not going to be the whole kit for your towed vehicle as well. If you need that, we have other kits available for you. This is going to be just the coach side. So this is going to be everything that you need to install on your coach that will hook up, and you'll be able to flat tow your vehicle if it already is equipped with an Air Force One unit. As far as installation goes, it's going to install underneath your coach. Most of the time you don't need to get them up in the air. We do that here just so you can kind of see what's going on. But it's something that you can get done in your driveway or wherever you store your RV, and really you don't need any special tools. If you want to see how we did it on our coach today, I can walk you through it step by step, and I'll show you right now. So because the Air Force One taps into your coach's air brakes, we need to get underneath and identify the brake lines that we need to tap into. I've already been underneath this coach. Let me show you which lines I identified and how I did it. Okay, so it's tight quarters under here, but we'll try to make the best of it. We're under our coach, and we're right here at the rear axle, and what we're looking for are the two valves that are part of our braking system. We have the ABS valve up here, and then we have our air brake quick release valve right here. The first thing we're going to be looking for is the air in that's going to come into our ABS valve up here. Typically, that's a larger line. On a lot of these Freightliner chassis, it's going to be green, and it could be a 5/8 inch line. It's going to be one typically that comes in the middle of this ABS valve, not up on top. It's going to be in the middle. On our coach today, on the M2, it does happen to be green, which it may not be every time, but for the most part they are. But on these M2s, a lot of times this line is going to be a 1/2 inch line. So in our case today, we're going to have to source out some fittings that I'll show you later on in the video how to do this. So this line for sure is one we're interested in. The other one is going to be the metered line that's coming out of our ABS valve and going to our quick release valve. So basically we're going to just follow this backwards, and we're looking at this line right here, which is also green, and this is going to be our metered air line. This is actually what's going to be going out to our system to supply air to our Air Force One system, and typically it's going to be on the bottom of our ABS valve right here. This is going to be a 3/8 inch line. Again, it's not always going to be green, but in this instance today, it is. So it's from the bottom, and you can follow it around, and it'll feed the air on our quick release valve. So now that we have our air supply line identified, and then our metered air line identified, before we do any work under there and unhook any of those air lines, we want to drain the tanks on our coach. Probably the easiest way to do that is just going to be to depress our brake pedal a number of times until the air is depleted. So we have most of the air drained out of our tanks, and before we really cut anything, what we can do to double check to make sure this is the right supply line is we can unhook this. Now to do this, these are quick disconnects. Let me see if I can get up here. This has an outside collar on it. What you'll do is you'll kind of push the hose this way and take this collar and pinch it, pull it towards you like this. And then you can rotate the hose back. Now, even if you pumped the air out with the brakes, you're still going to have some residual air pressure, so just be prepared for that. Okay. And so, before we cut this line and make an expensive mistake, what we can do right now is start the coach, and what we should have immediately is, because the air compressor would be running with the engine, if you came back here and checked this, you would have air starting to blow out of this. And if that's the case, then this is the right supply line you need to cut. That's one way you can check and make sure. Now that we've identified the correct brake lines under our coach, our next step would be to mount our air tank for the Air Force One system. Now, before we do that, it's a little bit easier to show you what we're going to be doing here. On the back side, our big 1/2 inch air supply line is going to be coming in right here, and you'll see an arrow, directional arrow on this regulator. So this is going to be converted to 1/4-inch line. On a lot, this is included with your kit, but this is for 5/8 inch lines. This is 5/8 by 5/8 by 1/4 inch. That's not going to work on our coach today on the M2, so we're going to have to source out some fittings. Typically, home stores and stuff like that will have these fittings, or truck places like Freightliner would have something like this. So today we have our 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch fitting. And this is what we're going to be using for the supply line going into the tank. On the other side of the tank, you're going to have 2 1/4 inch fittings. This one here on the regulator, this is going to be connected up to our 3/8 inch line. Now this is included and this does fit with the kit, so this is be 3/8 by 3/8 by 1/4 inch. We're going to get 1/4 inch tubing with our kit as well. And finally, this last one right here is our towed vehicle line out. So this is going to go from here all the way to our fitting that goes to the end of the coach, and this is going to tie in to the Air Force One module that's mounted on our tow vehicle. So that's the order that everything goes. You can see the plate on here. They're going to give you multiple mounting options under there, and we're going to find a spot probably near that rear axle and get this mounted up. So just real quick, I wanted to show you where I chose to mount the air tank. Here's the back of the rear axle, so the coach rear is back here. If you look straight up, we've got a cross member here that's above our airbags, and I've got just lots of space right here. And so if I take our input side and face it up where we're going to be making our connections, you can see it's going to mount up really nice up here. There's room to work, there's room to drill and bolt this up. And it's not going to get in the way. Remember, this frame is going to be going up and down with the air suspension. We got to watch that it doesn't hit stuff, but we're going to be in good shape right here. So I'm going to get this drilled out and bolted up. Again, probably are going to have to source bolts to get this mounted, but get this mounted up, and then we can move on from here. So before we make our cuts on our 2 lines here, what we want to do is take some soapy water and clean these lines up. The fittings that we're going to be using are quick connect fittings, and they have an O-ring that seals on the outside of this, and if there's any dirt still on the outside of this line, it'll end up leaking. So just make sure you clean these up real good. So I have our 2 air lines cleaned off here, and I'm going to be using a tubing cutter. It's got like a little razor tip on it. This is probably going to be the best thing that you can use to cut this tubing with. You want to make the cuts nice and clean. It'll just seal up better with the fitting. So we made that connection here. We'll take the 1/2 inch quick fitting, and you're going to see a ferrule inside. This should line right up, and just push it in until it clicks or until it stops, and give it a tug, and you'll see that it's in there. These quick connect fittings are pretty nice. Like I said, the biggest thing is keeping your tubing clean on the outside. That's where it's going to make it seal. So we'll get the other side hooked up. If you need to rotate it, you can, because we have this 1/4 inch line that we're going to be running over to the air tank that we mounted. But I'll hook up this 1/2 inch line back up to our ABS valve. Okay, and then we can make the cut on the metered line. That's going to be this 3/8 inch line down here. And we'll just do the same thing with the 3/8 inch quick connect T that came in our kit. Now with both of our T's hooked up, it'll be kind of hard to see, but what we're going to do is hook up our 1/4 inch tubing into the main supply line T. That's going to be our 1/2 inch line. Again, these are all quick connect fittings, so just like we've been doing already, I'm just going to run this 1/4 inch line into it, push it until it locks, and we're going to run this back to the supply line on our tank that came in our kit here. Same rules when cutting this tubing. You know, leave yourself a little bit of room, knowing that we're going to be, once this is all hooked up, we're going to be under here zip tying everything. We don't want stuff to move too much. So, quick connect fitting here. Okay, so this line is hooked up. This is the line that's going to fill our air tank up. Same as it's doing with the brake line there. So, now we can take the 1/4 inch tubing again, and we'll come down to the metered air connection. This will be the 3/8 inch T. Get that hooked in here. Okay. And then we're going to run this one to the back of the tank that we showed you earlier, and this will be going on the regulator side. Okay, so that's going to be it for the connections as far as the main supply line in here and our metered line right here. This T back here, again, this is going to take our 1/4 inch tubing, and we're going to run this line to the back of the coach so we can hook that up to our towed vehicle air outlet. Now we've got our air line run to the back of our coach here, and our air fitting that's included is going to have a bracket with it, and of course another quick connect fitting. This installation back here is just going to be tailored to your specific coach. You can mount this wherever you need to, and this one here, I'm going to be utilizing this bracket with the hitch, so I'm going to unbolt this and probably get some flat washers here and utilize this pre-existing hole. So I've got the air line here. We're going to make our connection at our fitting here. It's clicked in, and this fitting is going to come with a rubber cap, and you want to keep that on there if you're not towing. That'll keep all the dirt and water and stuff, moisture out of the inside of this. It'll just keep it working good for you in the years to come. From here, essentially, your kit has been installed. What you would want to do is any zip ties that you cut to kind of figure out what line is what, as far as the brake lines go, you want to get under here and secure your lines, keeping in mind that the chassis and the axle are going to move up and down. So if you went from, say, the frame and then down to something else that's moving, leave yourself enough line. But you want to zip tie everything. You don't want this nylon tubing just chattering around under here. You'll end up developing air leaks down the road. Now with everything secured underneath, it's a good idea to go ahead and start your coach, build up air pressure, and take that same soapy water solution that you had and spray it at the T's to make sure that you don't have any air leaks. So if you had air leaks, you're going to see big bubbles, not just like little teeny tiny ones here, depending on your soapy solution. So that's fine. We're testing the main line here. In order to check our metered line down here, you'll need someone to go and hold your brake pedal down, and then this air will run through here, and then we can see if it's leaking right here. Now with the system checked for leaks and secure, that'll complete today's installation and a look at some of the features of Demco's Air Force One coach kit on our 2021 Freightliner M2.